A lot of time and effort goes into creating videos like this, so if you're enjoying the content, please take a moment to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel.
In the winter of 1811, the ground beneath the Mississippi Valley began to tremble. At first, the quakes were small, but by December, the New Madrid earthquake struck with such force that chimneys toppled, forests split apart, and the Mississippi River itself briefly ran backward. The Carter family, settlers near the river in Missouri Territory, woke in the night to a roar louder than thunder. Their cabin swayed, walls cracked, and the earth outside split open, swallowing fences whole. Horses bolted in terror, and trees fell like matchsticks. For weeks, aftershocks shook the land. The Carters slept in the cold, too afraid to stay indoors. Neighbors spoke of the world ending. Strange lights flickered in the sky, and the river boiled with upheaval. Entire villages were abandoned, while others were cut off by shifting landscapes. Though the family survived, their homestead was never the same. The land had risen and fallen in jagged ridges, and the Mississippi carved new channels through what once had been farmland. For those who lived through it, the quakes remained a scar not only on the earth but on memory itself. Bordentown, New Jersey, 1852 to 1854. Her name was Clara Barton. She was 31. She would later found the American Red Cross, but first she was a teacher. In 1851, she came to Bordentown. She found 400 children on the streets with no school. New Jersey had no free public schools. In 1852, she established one of the first free public schools in New Jersey. She opened it in an abandoned building. 6 students came the first day. She later established the first free school in New Jersey, raising enrollment from an initial 6 students to 600. 6 to 600 in 1 year. Parents lined up. She taught all ages in one room. She visited every family. The town was proud. They raised money for a big new brick schoolhouse. When it was finished, the school board called a meeting. They said the school was now too big for a woman to run. They hired a man as principal at twice her salary. They offered her to be his assistant. She resigned that day. She wrote, "I thought I had been successful, but I found I was to be superseded by a man." She left teaching and went to Washington. 8 years later, the Civil War started, and she went to the battlefields to nurse soldiers no one else would nurse. She did not forget what it felt like to be told you were not enough. A woman who gave a town 600 children in school for free was told a man should have the credit, so she went and saved thousands of lives instead. The Plains, 1880s to 1930s. In 1880, a family in Nebraska needed a school. The nearest school was 12 miles. Their children could not walk 12 miles in January. So they built one. On the plains, that may have been sod, or in more wooded areas, logs. Logs, cut that morning, notched by hand, chinked with mud and straw. One room, one door, one window made from a flour sack. It had no floor at first, just dirt. Then they split logs for puncheon floor. It had a wood-burning stove that never heated the corners. Ink froze in January. 1 teacher, 8 grades, 12 children. 1 book for reading. She taught reading in the morning, writing at noon, arithmetic after lunch, all in the same room while the little ones slept on coats. The school served as more than an educational facility. It was a community center for families in the county. Dances on Saturday, church on Sunday, voting on Tuesday. It served as a public school until 1933, then became a museum. Many served until the 1940s. A people who had no lumber, no nails, no money, and no teacher built a school anyway out of trees they cut that morning, because a child who cannot read cannot leave. Lexington, Kentucky, 1930 to 1937. His name was Will. He ran a shoe repair shop on Short Street. 2 chairs, 1 window. During the economic depression, when jobs were few and the purchase of new shoes had drastically declined, skilled workers in other trades turned to shoe repair and shoe shining as a source of income. New shoes cost $3. No one had $3, so they brought old shoes. A boy came in with cardboard tied to his feet. His father had no job. His shoes had holes where the soles should be. Will looked at his feet. He said, "Sit." He had a box under the bench, soles cut from old tires. He nailed them on. He polished them. He gave them back. The boy said, "I have no money." Will said, "You can pay when you get a job." In 1933, children came in with newspaper in their shoes. Mothers came in with shoes held together with string. He fixed them for a nickel or an egg or nothing. He wrote in a ledger, paid in eggs, paid in beans, paid in prayer. He fixed every child's shoes free on the first day of school in 1934, 23 pairs. He never got rich. He kept his shop open until 1947. When he died, his ledger showed 412 pairs marked paid nothing. A man who made his living from people who needed shoes decided that needing shoes was enough reason to have them. District 42, Nebraska, 1949. Her name was Patricia Robinson Schlatz. Patricia Robinson Schlatz began teaching in a one-room school in District 42 in 1949 at age 17. 1 year out of high school herself, she taught for 3 years at Pleasant View before District 42 voted to consolidate. 1 room, 8 grades, a wood stove that she had to light at 6 a.m. in January so the room was warm by 8, a water bucket she carried from the farm next door, a chalkboard made from boards painted black. When Blanche McManus arrived to teach at a one-room schoolhouse on the South Fork of the Yak River in 1928, the school contained a table, boards painted black for a chalkboard, and a log for her to sit on. That was normal. A table, blackboards, a log. Patricia taught reading by having older children teach younger children. She taught arithmetic with corn kernels. She taught history by having them interview their grandparents who had come in covered wagons. After 3 years, they closed her school and moved the building to a central location. She went to Kearney State College, got her degree, and went on to teach for another 30 years. A 17-year-old girl who was given a one-room shack, a log to sit on, and 15 children, and told make a school, and did. Discrimination and rejection, the unwelcome migrants. The family encountered discrimination and rejection in northern cities, their expressions showing the pain of being unwelcome and unwanted despite their desperate need for work. Signs reading "No help wanted, migrants not welcome," and "For rent, whites only" made clear that migrant families from the South were not wanted in northern communities. Employers turned them away, landlords refused to rent to them, and community members made clear that they were unwelcome. The discrimination was not merely social, but was institutionalized in hiring practices, housing policies, and community attitudes. Northern communities blamed migrant families for the economic hardship of the Depression, accused them of taking jobs from real Americans, and treated them as outsiders and threats rather than as human beings seeking survival. The family's expressions showed the ways that discrimination added another layer of pain to their already difficult circumstances, the ways that they were not only poor, but were also explicitly rejected and dehumanized by the society they had come to seeking opportunity. The father held a sign reading, "Will work for food," a desperate plea for employment and survival. Yet even this was met with rejection and contempt. The photograph captures the ways that discrimination and prejudice shaped the experience of migrant families, the ways that they were blamed for economic problems they did not cause and rejected by communities that should have recognized their humanity and their need. Family separation and displacement, broken bonds. The family experienced the trauma of separation and displacement as they struggled to survive in northern cities during the Great Depression. Some family members found work in different cities or had to stay behind while others moved north, creating separation and distance within the family unit. The automobile that had carried them north became their home, yet it was inadequate shelter for a family, and many family members had to find other arrangements for housing. The family members' expressions showed the emotional toll of displacement, the ways that homelessness and poverty disrupted family bonds and created trauma. The photograph captured family members separated from each other, or showed the family living out of their automobile or in makeshift shelters. The experience of homelessness was particularly traumatic for children, who had to adapt to living in cars, in temporary shelters, or in crowded boarding houses. The family bonds that had been central to their identity and their survival in Florida were strained by the displacement and the desperate circumstances of northern migration. The photograph captures the ways that migration often resulted in family separation, the ways that the search for work and survival sometimes required that family members separate and pursue different opportunities. The photograph also captures the ways that homelessness was a reality for many migrant families, the ways that the automobile became their only home, and the ways that families had to adapt to living in conditions that were barely survivable. Weighing and payment, the moment of economic reckoning. At the cotton weighing station, the day's harvest was weighed and payment was calculated. a moment that revealed the ways that the cotton picking system was designed to exploit workers. A cotton company representative or overseer stood at a scale, weighing the cotton picked by a family of workers, including young children. A mother and her children stood nearby, their expressions showing anxiety and concern about whether they would receive fair payment for their day's labor. The cotton sacks filled with the day's harvest were visible, representing hours of grueling work by the entire family. The photograph captures the ways that sharecropping and cotton picking systems were designed to exploit workers, the ways that payment was often calculated unfairly, with deductions for supposed impurities or damage to the cotton. The weighing station represented the moment of reckoning, the point at which families discovered whether their day's labor would provide adequate compensation for survival. The expressions on the faces of the workers show the anxiety and uncertainty about payment, the ways that the economic system was designed to keep workers in poverty and debt. The cotton companies and landowners controlled the weighing process, the calculation of payment, and the determination of deductions. Families had no way to verify the accuracy of the weighing or the fairness of the payment calculation. The system was designed to maximize profit for the cotton companies and landowners while minimizing payment to the workers. Many families found that after deductions for supposed impurities, damage, or other charges, they received little or no payment for their day's labor. The weighing station was thus a site of exploitation and injustice, where the labor of families and children was systematically undervalued and underpaid. The garden of sustenance, cultivation, and the harvest of survival. Near his shack, buckboard. Charlie maintained a modest garden plot where he cultivated vegetables and crops essential to his survival during the Depression years. The photograph shows the garden with rows of plants growing in the cleared space around the shack, with Charlie visible working in the garden, tending to the plants that provided essential nutrition. The surrounding forest created a natural boundary, emphasizing the small space of cultivation that Charlie had carved out from the wilderness. The garden represented Charlie's commitment to food security and his understanding that survival required not merely hunting and gathering, but also the deliberate cultivation of crops. The photograph captures the ways that Charlie combined multiple strategies for food production, hunting, fishing, gathering, and gardening, to achieve the diversity of nutrition necessary for long-term survival. The garden was not large or impressive, but it was carefully tended and represented Charlie's knowledge of agriculture and his commitment to maximizing the productivity of the limited space available to him. The photograph emphasizes the ways that Depression-era self-reliance required multiple skills and strategies, the ways that individuals like Charlie had to be farmers, hunters, gatherers, and craftspeople simultaneously. The garden also represented hope, the belief that the future would bring continued opportunity to grow food and to sustain life through one's own labor. The Shuckers of Port Royal, early 1900s. A group of young children, their faces smudged and clothes stained with the grime of their labor, stand outside the Magione Canning Company in Port Royal, South Carolina. Their expressions, a mix of weariness and resilience, capture the harsh reality of child labor in the oyster shucking industry.